I think winning is like a lot science, but most winners, there's an art form to it. They enjoy the creative process. They enjoy the struggle, oddly enough, right? And that's kind of like my business philosophy. I trust my process, and I want to give myself enough chances to win. And frankly, I'm not devastated when I don't win, because my ultimate outcome is to give myself enough chances at winning that ultimately the odds are stacked in my favor that I eventually win.
Welcome to Spartan Up Podcast. I am Joe Sena, CEO and founder of Spartan, and your weekly kick in the ass here on Spartan Up the Podcast. We got Ed Mylett. Ed Mylett and I have been going back and forth for at least 3 years now. This guy's like a super motivator. Apparently, he only got into it because Tony Robbins, you've heard of Tony Robbins, I don't care how young you are, said to him, listen, Ed, you're a good guy. If you don't do this, if you don't become like an influencer on Instagram and all these social channels, some other lunatics are going to do this. And our kids, the children, the next generation, shouldn't be motivated, shouldn't be learning from some of these screwballs. They need Ed Mylett and others like you. So that's why he got into it. There's a couple of things he points out, which is really interesting, that will change your life. And so when you listen to this podcast or you watch it, I want you to point those two out, stick them in the comments. I want to see if you got them right. But he really highlights these two life lessons that I think we should all, not only grasp, but we should strangle. The other thing that's interesting is, when you see him, it's kind of a turnoff at times when you see the fancy cars and the nice house and all that. He explains why in this interview, and it makes sense. I want you to listen for that as well, because some might look and say, hey, this guy's a little pretentious or whatever. He's really into the material things, but I think he gives a good explanation for it. Anyway, stay tuned. Let's watch Ed. Let's listen. Let's learn. And who knows? Maybe we'll level up.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company, pioneering a revolution in craft, non-alcoholic beers. Place your order today at athleticbrewing.com and get free shipping on 2 6-packs or more.
Joe Sena here for Spartan Up Podcast with one of my big guys that I've been trying to get to for a long time, Ed Mylett.
How are you, brother?
If it wasn't for the pandemic, we'd never get together. I'm glad we're here finally.
Well, I'm just thinking as we get rolling here, we're going to reverse book and you're going to do my show this week. I'm going to nail you down. So I'm looking forward to that.
I would love it. So listen, not to sound like a weirdo or anything, you got all these muscles. How'd you get what's your story with fitness?
Undersized, really small baseball player. First year of college, I had the strength and conditioning coach named John Gruden, who, if you're an NFL fan, he went on to be the coach of the Raiders, then the Bucks, now back to the Raiders again. But he was my weightlifting coach. And if you know anything about him, he's a passionate dude. He got me freaked out about lifting weights. And I've been lifting weights, probably 30 years plus since that day. And it's just, I think, compound pounding. I've just been doing it a long time. My genetics aren't too bad either. I'm not going to lie and say that, babe, I'm on the podcast here. You get the dogs. My dogs just walked in, sorry. My Pomeranians. I take testosterone now. I started taking testosterone a year ago. I don't hide that fact. So it's helped. I don't recommend it for anybody. I have it under a doctor's care. But certainly for me, I've seen an increase in my ability to recover since I've been taking it. I'm older. I don't produce as much myself.
There was a movie with, I forget the name of the actor. I think it was Little Miss Sunshine. And you remember that movie?
Yes.
And what's his name? I forget the name of the actor. But anyway.
I know you're talking about too, yeah.
We're joking about taking some drugs. And his argument was like, hey, I'm 70-something years old. If I'm going to do it, I'll do it now. And so my thinking around testosterone or whatever is because it's still, you don't know long-term effects, right? Do you?
Right. You do not. No.
So stay away if you're young, but as you get a little older.
I've never said that on a show before. I just said it to you. And it's very recent. And so I'm not recommending it. In fact, it was a really difficult decision. I can't believe we're talking about this, but it was a very difficult decision for me to start it. I take very little, and I'm tested every 90 days, and my ratio, my testosterone levels are that of mid to low normal still. So, but we don't know what it does. I do know this. I'm not a doctor. I can tell you this. It suppresses your HDL, which is not a good thing. Yeah. It suppresses your good cholesterol. So it's certainly not something I recommend. I'm just being honest. When you say, have I stayed big? I've trained for 30 years. I lift 6 days a week, and recently a little testosterone's in there.
Got it. Yeah, and for that many years, it's been 6 days a week, or have you had periods where you just don't do it?
Funny, until COVID, I would say, there's been a couple sick days if there's a Christmas or something like that. But it's also, as I know it is for you too, my fitness is a catalyst for most of the other areas of my life. It's my baseline place where I can control keeping the promises I make to myself. It helps me maintain my schedule. Obviously, it keeps me physically strong. I feel better about myself. Yeah, COVID changed things. I have not trained real hard during COVID, and maybe my body needed a little bit of a recovery, so it hasn't been that, really that much of a negative thing, although I've started to train hard again. It's a big part. Right before we started, I was on Instagram, and I went to Dwayne Johnson's page, and it was just him training just today, and I went, holy like different level, I got a long way to go.
More testosterone, just a little more.
I think there might be, frankly, but that's a whole other story.
Are there days where you're like, fuck it, I don't feel like going to the gym?
Yeah.
And then what do you do?
A great question, because it leads to sort of personal development. That's a really good question. When I was 30, I had what I thought was a heart attack. We're still not really sure, but when they tested different levels of me, I produced that enzyme that's the heart attack enzyme. Long story short, my dad's brother died that year of a heart attack, and I looked just like him. So I went and got this scan done where they test the plaques in your arteries, and I had this brilliant doctor. What's a normal doctor do? Here's your scan, take some Lipitor, walk out, right? He understood getting leverage. So I walk in, and he walks into the lobby with my scan. He goes, there's no one else in the lobby. He goes, I'm looking for Edward Mylett. And I go, I'm Ed Mylett. And he knew my name, right? He kind of played it off. And then before I looked, Joe, he goes, wow, I can't believe these crappy arteries are in that young of a body.
Wow.
We got a lot to talk about. Brings me back into his little office, puts my folder down. And right now already I'm like, what the hell's in there? And he says to me, let me ask you a question. You have kids? I said, yeah. He goes, you have a daughter? I said, actually, yeah, I just had a baby. My wife just had a baby girl. He goes, do you have any interest in being at her wedding?
Wow.
I went, what the fuck did you say? He said, I'm asking you if you want to walk your daughter down the aisle on her wedding day, or are you cool if it's some other guy because you're long gone? And I went, sorry for my language. I'm like, what the F is in that scan, dude? And he goes, I'm going to tell you what's in there, but if you don't change what you're doing, I'm going to tell you right now, some other man's walking your daughter down the aisle on her wedding day. I mean, you say that to a dad about a daughter, you just got me, right? So to answer your question, maybe like 800 different times I've been on the road at some crappy hotel on a speaking gig, traveled in late. I got to get up. I don't want to go. I'm not kidding you. Bella's wedding, Bella's wedding, Bella's wedding. It's this trigger, and I go. And so I've had that leverage. It's never left me. Many mornings, Bella's wedding has got me out of bed to go to the gym. You got to find your catalyst, your reason, pain or pleasure.
Well, that's what I was going to say. What could we do? I mean, just the other day, just for fun, actually randomly, somebody hit me up and said, hey, can you call this guy Don and let him know he's getting out of shape? I don't even know Don. I said, yeah, whatever. I dialed, hey, Don, George told me you're getting out of shape. What the fuck are you doing? The guy was kind enough to play along with me. And then all of a sudden, everybody's emailing me, texting, tweeting, hey, can you call this friend? Can you call that guy? Could you wake me up every day? And so how do we help the world, certainly the United States, find Bella, find that thing?
Yeah, well, everything we do is to gain pleasure, avoid pain. Every single decision we make, what time we get up, if you put makeup on, if you're a lady, like, do you put it on because of the pleasure of looking good or the pain of what it might look like if you didn't, right? Guys, same thing. Why do we brush our teeth, right? The pleasure of having great breath or the pain of having bad breath. So you got to know those are your triggers and your anchors. And for me, it's a deeply emotional reason if something's that important to you. I had another friend who went to a seminar, Tony Robbins seminar. This was back in the day. Just give people other ideas. And Tony flipped the script at this seminar. I was at it. And what he did is he said, all the men in the room, you're going to be ranked by your bodies. You're going to know what it's like to be objectified. And all the women, you're going to be ranked by your bank account. And he flipped the room. And the women sat in order of their net worth in the room. The men had to all take their shirts off.
Nice.
And then 8 women voted on who most attractive man was in the group. And it was shameful for a lot of these guys. Well, my buddy, who was young in a group of old men, he didn't get picked as the hot guy.
Right.
And it gave him this great leverage. I'm never going to have that feeling again of embarrassment of what I look like. And that's one of the things I love about what you do, particularly with the races and stuff, that part of it is it gives people this pleasure thing they can seek as they train and equip for it, right? So for me, it's just linking and anchoring. We call it an anchor that puts you in that state. I teach that with my clients, people I coach, and I do some of it on my podcast. Like, it's free, just go listen to it. So it's finding that pain or pleasure point and getting leverage on yourself and repeating it over and over again. For me, it's Bella's wedding. For my buddy, it was the Tony Robbins event. For many people, it might be that they're prepping for your race and they want to be in the best shape of their life, or not embarrass themselves somehow by not being able to finish.
Yeah, I call it the Spartan Paradox. I selfishly came up with this term because over the last 20 plus years of putting on races, invariably what people say to me, Ed, is I can't do that, but I'm going to do it once I get in shape, once I start eating healthy. And my answer is, I've been doing this a long time. You're not going to get in shape. You're not going to do it. Actually, it works in reverse. If you sign up for that thing, you sign up for Bella's wedding or whatever, right? All of a sudden you do the work.
Yes. It's a catalyst.
So that's the anchor you talk about, right? That's that thing that
Yes.
like, you're going to be embarrassed if you don't do the work.
You know, the other thing, brother, and I was thinking about you knowing we were going to do this last week. I have to tell you the power of the entire concept you've come up with here. And I didn't get it. I interviewed this dude last week. I got to just tell you this selfishly, because I thought of you the whole time he was talking. His name's Dr. Andrew Huberman. Do you know who he is?
I know him, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
have you had him on?
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Okay, so I'm interviewing him, and he's going through this study where the fact is you get more of a dopamine hit when you are pursuing a goal than when you actually achieve it.
Right.
In other words, the brain, he's proven in the brain, you get more of a hit when you're in the pursuit than when you actually win or finish.
Yeah.
So the brilliance of what you're doing is it's exactly what you just said. It's the preparation for the race. It's the process of getting to the race that brings us more pleasure, ironically, than even winning or finishing the race, which is bizarre to me, but he's proven it in the neurosystem.
You and I kind of know that already.
Yes.
Because we didn't know it scientifically, at least I didn't, but I felt it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've done really hard things, could be building a business, whatever. And then when you finally get, it's just like kind of a letdown.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. For me, it was like validation of my life. I'm like, wow, I had way more fun when I was pursuing this shit and I didn't even have a lot of money than when I actually got there and had it. I was like, yeah, it's all right. It's the pursuit. So that's the beauty of the process of there's another race, there's another race, there's another race. Like, man, what a huge gift that is to people. You know, I don't know. I thought about you right away when he was talking.
You know, when I brought in investors for Spartan in the early days, and this was not a business or an industry where we had a role model, right? There wasn't somebody that did this already, really. I mean, you had Ironman, you had New York Marathon, Boston Marathon, Tokyo, but I said there has to be a ladder where somebody does like a 3-mile Spartan, and then they could do an 8-mile Spartan. Then they could do a 13. Then they could do a 26. You got to keep giving them another carrot, another hook, because otherwise, like, the whole reason we're doing it is to keep people healthy and get people healthy, and they're not going to do it unless they have something to continually chase.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's like why guys like you and I get asked all the time, man, like, when's enough? And if you'd asked me at 30, hey, you'll be living ocean, like right now I'm looking at the oceans, we're talking, like right over my laptop or whatever, you know, certain number of accolades, or I would have thought that probably will be enough. I would have thought that. And what I found out is the reason it's not enough is it's the pursuit. And so the answer is it will never be. There'll never be enough races, right? And it sounds so hokey, but I'm finally at 50 having this stuff validated scientifically. I'm not crazy, it turns out. You're not crazy. The people that are participating in your races, they're not crazy. The people that are crazy don't do any of these things. They're driving themselves crazy, literally, chemically in their brain. Literally, they're going crazy. We're not.
If you have time this week, on the farm right now, I've got people just show up. Like, my wife's yelling at me all night last night. She actually slept in my son's bed because she was so mad at me. And her reason for being mad is, why do I continue to invite for 20 years people to the farm? Like, we don't make any money doing it. They could be screwballs. What if somebody has COVID? And I thought about it a lot. You know, this morning I was working out and I was thinking, like, it's fun for me to try to help people. It would feel really selfish if like you just landed the place that you have on the beach and you were able to sleep in a little late, and like it would feel selfish like if you weren't doing work to help people, right?
Yeah.
And
What do you think though? Why are you and I like that? And maybe not everybody's made that discovery. What do you think it is?
well, part of it is probably you have to get to a point in your life where you're not fighting for milk anymore. So, because it's kind of a luxury, right? Like if I was trying to feed myself every day, I might be more focused on that than helping other people. So, knock on wood, I can eat, you can eat. So we've got that luxury. But also, I got lucky. I don't know when it happened to you. So when I was young, believe it or not, a mob boss said to me, the best thing we could do on this planet is to help people. Now, most unlikely person in the world saying that, right? A mob boss.
Yeah.
But they think they're doing good things because they help the neighborhood and they take care of some problems here. They whack a few people, but they also take care of folks. And there was a guy I was scared of, I respected. And so, I don't know, that just sunk in my brain. And then my mom pushed it. Plus it's kind of nice pushing people.
I think it's ironic if people knew like our normal personalities that were really that way. Because for me, everything happens for you, not to you. We always hear this. My catalyst was I'd played baseball. I got drafted to play professionally. I get released. Long story. I'm on my ass. I'm living at my dad's house. My dad, who was an alcoholic, just gets sober. Comes back from his first AA meeting. He goes, tomorrow morning, get your ass out of bed. I got you a job at some place called McKinley in San Dimas. Get your ass over there. Like I'm really choosy. I'm like, well, what is it? What's it pay? He goes, doesn't fucking matter. You're eating out of the fridge. Get your ass over there. So I drive over in the morning. No joke. It's an orphanage. It's a group home, but not like you think like one house. It's a campus of boys that were removed from their homes. Parents either molested them, were incarcerated, or were dead. And I have this amazing moment. Actually, to this day, every single time I say this, I walk into cottage 8, which was my number in baseball. And I got 9 boys in there, 8 to 10 years old. They all stopped because they were ready for school, and these eyes look at me. And all these dudes wanted, man, they wanted someone to love them, care about them, and learn to live a little better. So I'd take them to school. I was there trick-or-treating. I was there Christmas morning when we opened presents. I became like a brother, father. And instantly I went, oh my, like, you're an athlete, you're an ego idiot, right? Like I was. Not all, but I was. All about me. Every restaurant I went in, I was, you know how that is. And instantly I went, oh my God, I love this. This feels really good. And it's the one thing in my life, Joe, like it's never gone away. The feeling has never gone away. Other stuff, like you get a house or whatever, it's like really good for a while. And they're like, that's my house. You know, I'm grateful, but it's my house. You get a car, it's cool for 3 weeks. Yeah. The helping people thing has never gone away and never minimized and never not been as cool. It's only gotten better. So it's selfish that I do it because it makes me feel good. But my moment was McKinley Home for Boys, for sure.
Yeah, you got lucky. Couple of things. One is I do it too, and you do it. You're showing on social media the nice cars and all those things. Is that because people chase that?
Yeah, I do less of it. I had enough of my friends go, dude, this dude I'm seeing, that is not you. And so you're kind of being fake in the fact that you're showing real shit you have, but you would never do that in real life. Like, here's my wine room, you know, or whatever. I would never, my family would slap the shit out of me. So I do less of it. However, I think it's a validation for people that what you're teaching works. Right. Most people are not stupid. They're like, well, show me proof. Right. Even me, you have to admit this. When you see some self-help dude or entrepreneur expert and the background on their Instagram video is clearly like a $700 a month apartment, right. Let's just be real. You're kind of like, hold on a minute, man. I'm going to take advice from you. Right. So there needs to be some validation. I think the question is like, how much of it's bad messaging? How many people did I get to buy nice cars prematurely because they think you're supposed to have one if you're successful? So I've mitigated that quite a bit. I show a lot less of it, but if people don't know you're successful, I think to some extent they're not going to listen to you sometimes.
No, I think that's really fair. I think especially people that need the help and are seeking help or a little inspiration or whatever, they want validation. So I agree with that. Next question.
One more thing too about you. I want to just say, and I hate to keep, saying things that I admire about you, but the other thing too is this is a unique time in the world where you do get access personally to people, like on your podcast weekly or on social media, that when I was growing up, I could never meet these people, talk to them, hear their thoughts. They weren't on TV, right? They, a few of them would write a book once in a while that someone else wrote usually. This is such a unique time where like you could engage with people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars or have built big companies or transformed their bodies and act with this connectivity thing we take for granted now. It's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. And that's why your podcast is so important.
No, I agree. It's another thing to pinch ourselves about and say, it's pretty awesome. Pretty cool, our life. You get to talk to Huberman, or I get to talk to you, whatever. Like I agree.
We're going to jump right back to that interview in just a minute, but I want to talk to you about Athletic Brewing. They're the sponsor of today's episode. We met their founder, Bill Schufelt, at a Spartan race. He was a super authentic guy, and he told us why he started Athletic Brewing. He started it for people who love craft beers but don't want the alcohol. He uses high-quality, all-natural, all-organic ingredients to create brews for everyone. They have a Run Wild IPA, an Upside-Down Golden Ale, a Freeway Double Hop IPA, and they're all without alcohol, but they taste like the best craft beers. Beer's been used through the ages as a great replenishment option after exertion. Now you can enjoy an award-winning craft beer taste anytime without worrying about the alcohol. Keep a clear head, drink healthy when you want a beer with friends or family or to refuel after a race. You shouldn't have to sacrifice your ability to be healthy, active, and at your best to enjoy a great beer. In fact, we at Spartan believe in them so much, they're available as a finisher beer at U.S. races. Athletic Brewing is a company pioneering a revolution in craft, non-alcoholic beers. Place your order today at athleticbrewing.com. And don't forget, you get free shipping on 2 6-packs or more.
The other question I have is, I got a bunch of people on the farm right now. I don't know, 25 people showed up in the last 24 hours.
My gosh, that's why you're in the bedroom.
Some that want to learn wrestling, some that are just looking to change their life, lose weight, whatever. I got them all over the mountain in the back behind me. And 2 of them dropped out after 12 hours last night. Tapped out, 12 hours. They flew here. They paid because I'm not doing it anymore. You got to pay something, otherwise it's not real. Yeah. And this morning, the second guy was like, what's up? Like, what's going on? You know what? I can't sleep without an air conditioner. I said, you know all about me. Like, are you kidding me? Like, if you want, I'll set up a tent outside. You can sleep outside. I can't sleep in a tent. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I got a building. I'll put you with an air conditioner. I never do this, but I'll do it because you seem like a good guy. Nah, I already booked my flight. I'm out of here.
Wow.
And so my question is, are those, because I'm still getting my head around this. This happened today and yesterday. And the question is, maybe they don't understand that it is the process, like you were just saying.
Yeah. And
not the outcome. Like, what'd you think? You were going to come here and I was going to put like one of those little magical sticks on your head and all of a sudden you'd be changed? Like,
yeah, amazing you say this, because I was talking with my son about this last night. He's getting ready to go away to play golf in college. Believe it or not, they're actually going to go too. So I've done this show called Max Out, very similar show to yours. I was curious in the beginning, like, what do all these people have in common? Which not all of them have any one thing in common. Some of them are real smart. Some of them have been unimpressive. Probably for you too. You're like, wow, I thought there'd be a little bit more there, right? Some of them had hard upbringings. Some of them had great upbringings. Most of them are very process driven. They're more process driven even than result driven. They love the curiosity. I think winning is like a lot science, but most winners, there's an art form to it. They enjoy the creative process. They enjoy the struggle, oddly enough, right? And I was thinking of Tiger Woods. I was telling my son about Tiger. If you listen to him, even when he's going through all his swing change, greatest winner, I think, Brady and Woods in sports the last 2 decades. Tiger, arguably the greatest winner in the history of golf. You could argue that. He's constantly talking process when he was remaking his swing. He doesn't even talk about winning. What does he usually say? I want to give myself a chance to win on Sundays on the back nine. I want to be in the conversation. That's kind of like my business philosophy. I trust my process, and I want to give myself enough chances to win. And frankly, I'm not devastated when I don't win, because my ultimate outcome is to give myself enough chances at winning that ultimately the odds are stacked in my favor that I eventually win. That's the part that shocks me the most, is how little negative feedback and setbacks most people will take on the direction of saying something like so important to them. And that this guy, it was warm air.
Yeah.
Right? That's the part that shocks me.
By the way, this is not the only one. This is 20-something years on the farm. They've come and gone. The fastest turnaround was 2.5 hours. They were supposed to be here for 3 weeks. But here's the thing that blows me away is a week and a half ago, I had this group called the Give Team. If you get a chance, look them up, okay? They're down in, what's the name of the city? In Paramore, outside of Orlando, rugged city. These kids have nothing. And their motto is, even though we got nothing to give, we give anyway. And I went down, I met them, I invited them to the farm. I said, guys, if you can come up here and you could do 4,000 burpees, any one of you, within 24 hours, we'll donate 10 grand to your charity, right? Awesome. So I didn't know if they were going to come up or not, because a lot of people don't, they say a lot of shit. They don't. Anyway, they showed up. Their counselor drove the van up here from Florida. They showed up. I set up the mats. We put the clock. Here you go. They got 4,000 done. Most of them got 4,000 done in about 6.5 hours, okay? They had, 17.5 hours to go. They said, fuck it, we'll go for 10,000.
Oh, my gosh.
They knocked out 10,000, right? I gave them 10,000. This is going to sound silly to some people, but understand the circumstance. I happen to have 10,000 in quarters on the property from a previous thing I did, and I don't do anything easy, so I gave them 10,000 in quarters, which was awesome.
I love that.
And they said, fuck it, let's go hike the mountain. Let's go do that. They were just so happy at anything I threw their way, and they have nothing, okay? Now, the other side is I get a lot of billionaires,
sure,
with a B, sending me kids, nephews, cousins. Hey, can you take them for 2 weeks? They're a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
They are a disaster.
Yeah.
Not like those kids. And I was thinking this morning, like, I'd almost rather have those kids from that fight for milk, those inner city kids. And like, we could do so much with these kids. Yep. I can't do anything with these privileged kids.
Yep. The desire part of life is, I just put a post out about it. I said, look, man, you give me a couple basic things like desire, toughness, resilience. You give me a few of those things, I can coach the rest of it. It's one of the things I've worried about with my own kids, raising them in kind of a comfortable environment. Like, are they going to have that edge? When I play a little golf and I have this thing on going, my dad's sort of a dude from Boston. You can just picture, like, he's just a dude, right? And so I was raised by that dude. And I have this thing with my dad. My dad's in chemo now, so we don't golf. But when we would golf, and I don't mean this negatively, but it's right where you're saying, I can know in about 1 minute whether a dude was raised with money, almost every single time. There's some, or like if he's a rich dude, did he make his own or did he get it from his dad? And I don't mean this negatively, but like there's a softness that comes with comfort that is a killer in life. And if you are listening to this and you're fortunate enough, like my children, to grow up where there's always presents at Christmas, there's a vacation. The number one thing that you need to guard against is comfort and your gravitational pull towards it. It's the number one thing. You're going to have access. You got an education. You're going to get information. You're going to have mentors. Yours is softness and gravitating towards comfort. There's a huge advantage to what those boys have, ironically, in their lives, because they don't gravitate towards comfort. They gravitate towards pain. Their happy spot is pain. And let's just be real, brother. There's a sickness. We think it's a sickness, but it's not. The people that we know that really win, they actually enjoy pain a little bit. They do. And the people that we know that are not happy, they may have stuff, but they are not happy, they avoid pain at all costs. Those are unhappy people. Those boys, ironically, get one of the real keys to being happy in life. Happy, not just successful. Gravitating towards pain. Someday someone's going to write a book that's going to flip the script on all consciousness, which is this thing we call discomfort and pain that we've all been wired to avoid from our caveman days. Turns out it's where all the joy is. Turns out it's where all the juice is. All the juice. Even think about it in like a really weird way. One of the most pleasurable things you can do is what you get to do with your wife, right? It's actually, if you watch the process of it, it's actually kind of a painful looking process to some extent, yet it's one of the most pleasurable things in the world. It's where all the good stuff is. So those boys have that.
No, we actually talked about that today, that And, you know, if you go back to the Stoics, you go back to the ancient Stoics, right? Or they believe they'd take some of the good stuff they have out of their life for a day or two or a week or whatever and go live on the street to appreciate the shit they have.
Yeah. I do some missionary work, and I think that's one of the reasons that I do it. I belong to a couple country clubs. I was just playing golf with a buddy of mine this weekend, and I am afraid of getting in that world. And I watch these guys now that were thoroughbreds at some point, running something, kicking ass at something, and they eventually cash their chips in. And now what they do is they get up on Mondays, they get in their golf cart, they go play golf, they have a couple drinks with their dudes, they obsess on what's going on in the news, then they do it again the next day. And it's like, if you go to a country club, and I don't mean this to my buddies that are listening to this, but like, just it's truth. It's like watching a bunch of thoroughbreds that have been put out to pasture. You know what I mean? Like, there's no and why? They at one point went, I'm tired of the pain. I'm going for the comfort thing, which is probably cool for like 5 weeks.
I agree.
And now they're just like, fuck. And these are studs. These dudes were players, right? And now they're in a golf cart every day doing nothing, totally comfortable and miserable. Like, I'm 50 years old. I've just kind of concluded, like, if I'm going to remain happy, productive, growing, I have to be in some form of pain. Like, why do I like lifting weights and working out?
If you have time this week, like I said, I'm going to get you on while I'm torturing these kids. I think they're starting to get it. Like, listen, there's a percentage of them that get it, and there's a percentage that don't. That's just the deal. What would you recommend? Let's say there's two types of people. There's the ones that are going out to pasture, or they had the misfortune of having too comfortable of life because their parents did really well. And then there's the kids fighting for milk. Give us 3 tips. You've been doing this a long time for both types.
3 tips for the comfortable guys. For sure, you got to find a new passion play, and you're going to have to put yourself in an environment like what you're doing, in my opinion, where you submit to someone else who's willing to put you through that discomfort and pain. You are unlikely to do that on your own. It's too much your tendency. So for me, like, I got through COVID, I've trained forever. First time ever, I've now got a trainer working me out. Why? I left a little of that rhythm of just crushing myself. I went and worked out with a couple really well-known bodybuilder guys. I thought I trained hard. I'm like, holy shit, I don't train hard. So you work hard compared to what? You train hard compared to what? So that'd be the second one. And then the third one is don't look for it to end if you're one of those comfort people. Like, it's not like I'm going to do it until and then it's going to stop. Like, just accept that process of life instead of it being, I'll do it for 3 weeks. I'll do it for 2 weeks. I'll do it for 8 weeks. Just do it. Like, just commit that that's your lifestyle, not some diet, right? I hate diets. Make it a lifestyle. And then if you're the latter, if you're the kids who have nothing, like probably how you and I grew up, 1, it's a massive advantage and you need to remind yourself of it. 2, it's not good enough just to do the work. What you have to do is when you're doing the work, you have to do it with some intention where you're telling yourself, I'm doing shit no one's willing to do. Eventually, I'm going to get things no one else is going to get. Too many people just blindly do the work. How many people, my Uber driver yesterday, she moves from Wisconsin. She's a nurse. She works in the ER and she drives an Uber. Busting her ass, right, to win in life. And that's awesome. She's better than 99.9, but she's still not happy. She's still not making progress. And the reason is she doesn't acknowledge she's doing it. She's not intentional. She's not going, I'm doing things no one's willing to do. I should be happier and more successful than the people aren't doing these things. So the second thing for those kids is, or anybody like that, you can't just do the work. There's got to be this intention about feeding your identity. And the third thing is, that I don't believe you ever exceed your identity in life. Your identity is like that thermostat sitting on the wall right there. It sets the temperature of your life. So if it's at 75 degrees and that's your identity, and you start doing 90, 95 degrees of work in your life, maybe you start to make a little bit of money. You will find a way, if you don't change your internal thermostat, eventually you'll think it's coincidence, it's random. Wow, I had a bill come up, a car breakdown. No, you put the air conditioner on and you got life cooled right back down to what your internal identity is, that thermostat setting. Same thing in your fitness. You start to get ripped, you're in shape, you're getting better and better. You've changed the external things you do, but internally you're still a 75 degreer. you will cool that sucker back down and put that weight back on again. So the third thing for those kids is, because of where you come from, you probably didn't grow up with a very high identity. No one fed your identity. So if all you do is work, everyone tells you grind, 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 you better do that shit. But if you don't begin to do the work on your internal identity, the thoughts, beliefs, and concepts you hold to be true about yourself, and raise that thermostat setting, you will live at 75 degrees, just like your dad, just like your mom, just like you are now. So it's work on your identity.
I like that. My mom used to say back in the 70s, and I thought she was a crackpot, was thoughts become reality, words become reality. And it just sounds silly. How could that be? But she was right? Like you got to set that level, kind of like a tide raises the level of the boat, right?
And how do you do it? You do it through, one, being intentional. I'm doing things I didn't used to do, so my thermostat setting should be higher.
Yep. And
then association. When you begin to associate around people, look, if you're a person of faith, you just start in a church and you're a 70-degreer of faith. You start going to Bible studies or something like that with people that have been in the church 25, 30 years that pray every 3 seconds, pray over their food, pray. Your faith thermostat increases. If you go to the gym every day with a bunch of fit people and you're training and you're 70 degrees, you stick around them, you're no longer 70, you're higher. So those are the ways we alter that setting. Look, my key in my life, I guess, is like, I mirrored my dad's really hard work, but maybe unlike my dad, to some extent, I changed my identity. And that opened levels and doors and thoughts and curiosities and relationships that would have never come if I didn't believe I was worthy of them. And I don't mean like love yourself shit. I'm talking about, you are only going to get out of life what you believe you deserve. And right now, as hard as it is to accept this, you're getting what you believe you deserve, period. And until you change that, you can work and work and work, and you're going to keep getting what you think you deserve.
I agree with that. All right, so easier said than done. Somebody wants to change their identity. How are they doing it?
One more. So it's adopting some sort of belief system that you can follow up on. Self-confidence is the process of making and keeping promises you make to yourself. So one thing I did, maybe starting about 15 years ago, let's use the gym for an example. If I'm going to do a set of 10, when I'm at 10, I do one more. If I'm on the treadmill and it's 45 minutes, I do one more minute. If I'm going to make 10 contacts in a day, I do one more. If you'd make one more the adage of your life, you literally do start flipping the script in your brain where you're like, I do things no one's willing to do. Where it came from was, I was at the gym. This guy had these huge traps, and I was a really big guy then, probably like 25 pounds bigger than I am now. So probably about 10 years ago. But he had these giant traps. I see him every day at the gym. And I'm not one of these dudes that walks up to anyone at the gym, talks to anyone at the gym. But I had to know, like, this guy was doing a ton of shrugs, and so stupidly, I walk up to this guy, and he's younger than me. I said, hey, man, what are you doing for these traps? Like, how many reps do you do? Right? How many reps do you do? And he looks at me like I'm the biggest dick in the world. And I'm a big dude at the time. And he goes, what? I go, like, do you do sets of 8, 10, 12? He goes, until I can't do any. I always do one more. I do one more. I go, what do you mean? He goes, so whenever I can't do any more, I just do one more. And he goes, I've been doing that for like 15 years on every exercise. I'm like, shit.
That's it.
And that started for me, one more call, one more text. By the way, do they sound hokey? I tell my daughter I love her one more time every day. I'm not kidding you. Like, I'm a freakazoid. So I'm a one more dude.
Right.
And it's changed my damn life. It's changed my identity. It's who I think I am, right? Never mind. I've done thousands of one mores in the gym.
Yeah.
I've done thousands of one more minutes on the damn treadmill. And I've made thousands of one more phone calls and text messages for prospecting in my business. It's all good.
And that's a pretty blanket statement for the cushy people, for those out to pasture, for the kids from the neighborhood, right?
Yes. One more, man. You got one more business in you, one more venture, one more contact, one more everything. And those of you that come from the wrong place, everybody thinks you really need to do one more.
And so you're saying when the air conditioner's not there and you pack it up, that's not one more?
That's not one more.
I told you guys 2 big things. Hopefully you got it right when you typed it in the comments. But one of the big ones for me was this idea that you could always do one more. You could always do one more rep. You could always talk to one more girl or one more guy if you're single and you're trying to meet somebody great, right? You could always do one more hike up the mountain, one more Spartan race. That's a selfish one. But you could always go a little further than you think you can. My saying before meeting Ed was you've got 8 more days in you. When you think this is your last step, when you're exhausted, when you can't take another minute of whatever hell you're going through, you got at least 8 days left. And the scientists have proven to me that 8 days is about right. It's about, we've got, even skinny people have about 14,000 calories a day for 8 days just sitting on our bodies. So even without food, without nourishment, you got 8 days left. And for Ed, you always have one more rep. And I love the story when he asked that other weightlifter, like, how did you do it? How'd you build those big traps? What are you talking about? How many reps do? I do it till I can't go anymore. And then I do one more. So I think we should all live like that, right? The second thing that he said, it's not hard work alone that makes a difference. It's your identity, right? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you should be? I remember when my father and my grandfather were talking. They were about 20 yards from me. I was doing some work landscaping, and I heard my grandfather say to my dad, that kid's a hard worker. That's it. That became my identity. That was my thermostat stat. I am a hard worker. And so, we owe it to young people to help them find that identity. It's a real positive one, right? That's something they could aspire to be. And it's got to be an identity that stretches you. You don't want to be complacent. Complacency kills. So those were the 2 big ones for me. With that, also, obviously, the guy could pivot, right? He's going to be a professional baseball player, pivoted, became extremely successful, found his passion, loved the fact that he loves his daughter, and he's got to stay working out every single day. And if he doesn't, he's worried that he's going to miss her wedding. So, look, I want to hear from you guys. How are you going to do one more rep? Or what's your mantra when it comes to something like that? And then 2 is, what's your identity? And what should it be? Right? I'm going to force you to write that down. Subscribe, comment, share, and I'll see you next week when I give you a kick in the ass.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company, pioneering a revolution in craft, non-alcoholic beers. Place your order today at athleticbrewing.com and get free shipping on 2 6-packs or more.